Welcome back to Double Play Baseball. My name is Jack Smith, and in today's video, I'm going to be ranking the top 30 left fielders in Major League Baseball, the best starter from all 30 teams in MLB. If that sounds interesting to you, make sure you guys are going down to hit the like button, the subscribe button, the notification bell, leaving a comment. You know what to do. This is one in a long line of Ryan and I doing rankings for each position in the MLB. You can find the playlist with all the rankings down below. I'll also have it somewhere up here in the corner, but this video is about left fielders, so let's get right to it. Starting off our list at the 30 spot is going to be Josh Smith of the Texas Rangers. Now, we just talked with Donnie Ecker, the hitting coach of the Texas Rangers. We didn't get to talking about Josh Smith, but I'll link that interview up above. But unfortunately for the Rangers, while they have studs at other positions, Josh Smith just simply isn't one of them. In 73 career games so far, he only has a 556 OPS, a 68 WRC+. He's only hit 2 home runs across those 73 career games, so he could prove me wrong this year, but so far what he's done in the MLB, he has to be at number 30. Coming in at number 29, gotta be one of the most disappointing prospects in recent memory, that's Jarred Kelenic of the Seattle Mariners. After being a top prospect in the minor leagues for quite some time, he just simply has not put it together in the MLB yet. A 74 WRC+ in 93 games in 2021, and that fell down to a 55 WRC+ in 54 games last year in 2022. In his career so far, he has a negative .6 WAR. He hits the ball hard, but unfortunately for Kelenic, he just hasn't been able to figure out major league pitching, still strikes out way too much, but he was a top prospect. We've seen Julio Rodriguez work out in Seattle. Maybe Kelenic can too. At the number 28 spot, postseason legend for the Atlanta Braves, Eddie Rosario. Now, while Eddie Rosario was fantastic in the 2021 playoffs, he's just simply not a good baseball player. In 191 games since 2021, he has a 680 OPS, an 84 WRC+, a negative WAR, and he's only hit 19 home runs. Braves fans, I don't know how you feel about Eddie Rosario. I know he was great for you in the 2021 playoffs, but since then, he really just has not done anything in the regular season. At number 27, a disappointing second year for Akil Baddoo of the Detroit Tigers. Now, in 197 games over the last 2 seasons combined, Baddoo has a 697 OPS, a 95 WRC+, a 1.7 WAR, 27 stolen bases. You'd think that just a little bit below average, but unfortunately for Baddoo, a 65 WRC+ in 2022 while missing a bunch of games. He only played in 73 complete games in the major leagues last year. So unfortunately for Baddoo, while he looked promising in his rookie year, I think this is the level of player that we're really going to get across his career. Let's head out to Washington, D.C. for number 26. That's Corey Dickerson. In 206 games over the last 2 years, Dickerson has a 718 OPS, a 98 WRC+, a 1.4 WAR with only 12 homers and 6 stolen bases in those 206 games. Dickerson is not a flashy player. He's not fantastic on defense. He's just a little bit below average, so I have him here at 26. We're about to start a run of some really interesting players. Let's begin with TJ Friedl of the Cincinnati Reds. In 72 games last year as a rookie, Friedl had a 750 OPS, a 101 WRC+, a .5 WAR with 8 home runs and 7 stolen bases. Now, TJ is not the best numbers for a rookie, just a slightly above average, but overall, from some of the left fielders on this list in one of the weaker positions, coming into a Cincinnati Reds offense that wasn't good last year as a rookie and being a slightly above average hitter is a good sign for Friedl, and I think he deserves the 25 spot. At number 24, newly acquired Minnesota Twin, Joey Gallo. It's no secret that Gallo struggled mightily in 2022. He had an 85 WRC+, struck out 40% of the time, and had a batting average of 160. However, over the last 2 seasons, he's played 279 games. He's got a 739 OPS, a 107 WRC+. We know he's good on defense and can smack home runs. He's got 57 over the last 2 seasons. I know Gallo wasn't good last year, that's why I dropped him on the list, but I do believe that he can turn it around in Minnesota. He's only on a 1-year deal. I think those fans will provide less pressure than New York and LA fans did. Not saying Gallo turns it around to his Texas self, but I think he deserves to be at number 24 given what he was last year, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him rise back up this list a little bit this year. Speaking about the Dodgers, let's go with James Outman from LA. In 4 games in the MLB last year, I know only 4 games, Outman had a 288 WRC+, hit 1 home run, scored 6 runs, had 3 RBIs, and had half a WAR in just those 4 games. Now, I know that that's not a big enough sample size to move him very high up the list, considering he's only played 4 games, but I want to believe in the prospect of James Outman. He hasn't had a WRC+ below 136 since he started single A, and obviously, in those games that he played in the MLB last year, he showed true promise. And I think there's a reason that the Dodgers didn't go out and sign someone else to play left field this year. I think they want this kid playing games for the majority of the season. I believe in James Outman, considering some of those games that he did play last year were against the Giants, and he looks like a legit stud. Can't move him much higher on the list because he's only played 4 games in the majors, but I believe in James Outman. Dropping a little bit on this list and coming in at number 22 is going to be Andrew McCutchen, newly acquired Pittsburgh Pirate. Now, of course, this isn't the first time that McCutchen's been a Pirate. We remember him most for his seasons out in Pittsburgh, but last year he had his first below-average season of his career with a 700 OPS, a 98 WRC+, a .3 WAR, hit 17 home runs but only stole 8 bases when he was out in Milwaukee. McCutchen's not the same player he was the last time he was in Pittsburgh, but I still think he's an average to slightly below-average hitter as he's on the downturn of his career. At number 21, I'm going Drew Waters of the Kansas City Royals. Now, Waters, like some of these other prospects, hasn't played a ton of games in the MLB so far, only 32 career games, but in those 32, an 803 OPS, a 125 WRC+, .4 WAR, had 18 RBI, and had an 11% walk rate. Drew Waters was a good prospect for the Atlanta Braves and went over to Kansas City in a trade, and he came up and showed he could do some real damage in the major leagues. I think Drew Waters is going to be a good player out in Kansas City this year, but again, only 32 career games, can't put him any higher. Just above Waters, going another prospect at number 20, is going to be Connor Capel of the Oakland A's. In 22 career games split between St. Louis and Oakland last year, he had an 875 OPS, a 149 WRC+, .7 WAR, and also 11 RBI. Capel, don't know a ton about him because, of course, the A's don't have many notable names on their roster, but he had a very good 22 games last year. But again, like some of these other guys, sample size is too small to put him much higher in the 20s, so I think I'm going to stick with Connor Capel at number 20. We start to get some stability at the number 19 spot. That's going to be Brian De La Cruz of the Miami Marlins. In 173 career games so far for De La Cruz, he has a 748 OPS, a 108 WRC+, 1.7 WAR, and 18 home runs. He's probably just going to be an average hitter with some good defense out in the outfield for Miami, but contrary to some of these other guys below him, he does have the sample size, though, to prove that he could stick as an average to an above-average MLB player, so I'm going to have Brian De La Cruz at 19. Our final real prospect on the list comes in at the 18th spot. That's Oswaldo Cabrera of the New York Yankees. In 44 career games so far, all coming in 2022, Cabrera had a 741 OPS, a 111 WRC+, 1.5 WAR, 6 home runs, and was one of the better defenders on the New York Yankees. Of course, 1.5 WAR compared to Brian De La Cruz's 1.7 in 44 career games is impressive for Cabrera, and as I mentioned, he's one of the better defenders on the Yankees and just one of the better defenders at the left field's position in general. It's a weaker position, so you take what you can get. I think Oswaldo Cabrera will probably take a step up in his second year with the Yankees, proving to be an above average hitter with that defense. It's worthy of the 18th spot. In the 17 hole, I'm going Austin Hayes of the Baltimore Orioles. In 276 games over the last 2 seasons, Austin Hayes has a 743 OPS, a 106 WRC+, 3.8 WAR. He's hit 38 home runs, and he was bang on average last season. In 2022, he had a 105 WRC+, so just slightly above average as a hitter, slightly below average as a defender, but he's got that 276 game sample size, so you can believe and feel confident that Austin Hayes will continue his average to slightly above average production in Baltimore. He's harmed like a lot of the right-handed Orioles hitters from the left field fence being moved back in Camden Yards, so he could even be a better player if not for that, but I'm going to have Austin Hayes here at 17. At number 16, a real confounding case at the left field position, that's Michael Conforto, now of the San Francisco Giants. Now, as we all know, Conforto missed all of 2022, but he had a 106 WRC plus in 2021 and a whopping 158 WRC plus in the COVID-shortened season in 2020. It'll be really interesting for me, especially as a Giants fan, to see how Conforto plays in 2023, because he was far above average before his injury, but really time will tell. I think right now, a conservative ranking for Michael Conforto, he could either raise up this list or the injury could hinder him and he could fall down the list. Right now, got him right in the middle at number 16. Another player who missed a lot of games with injury in 2022, that's Michael Brantley of the Houston Astros. He comes in at number 15. In 185 games of the last 2 seasons, Brantley has a 795 OPS, a 123 WRC+, 3.5 WAR, but as we know, he's a contact hitter, only 13 home runs over that time. He's really a DH at this point in his career, so we'll see whether he plays left or they play Yordan Alvarez in left field, but overall, he's a player who hits for average, doesn't play great defense, so I think while he's an above average hitter, he's just average as a player. I've got Michael Brantley right in the middle at number 15. You could include Brantley or Conforto, but moving forward, these next 14 players I think are all what I would say are good left fielders, and that starts with Lourdes Gurriel Jr., now of the Arizona Diamondbacks. In 262 games over the last 2 seasons, Gurriel Jr. has a 764 OPS, a 111 WRC+, and a 2.8 WAR, and he stepped up his offensive production last year with a 114 WRC+, although the thing that confounds me about him is he only hit 5 home runs all of last season. So a left fielder that doesn't provide you with a ton of power, is only slightly above average as a hitter, and he's okay on defense. It's hard for me to raise Gurriel any higher on this list because I think his potential is a little capped without the raw power numbers, so I've got him right here at number 14. On the flip side, at number 13 is a player whose potential we can only dream about so far. That's Masataka Yoshida, now of the Boston Red Sox. A career 957 OPS for Yoshida in Japanese baseball. It'll be interesting to see how that translates to the major leagues, but last year in Japan had a 1.007 OPS and 21 home runs last year across 121 games. Yoshida's going to move into a Boston Red Sox lineup that's either going to be really good or really bad. It's going to be interesting to see how this Boston order shakes up, but Yoshida was a big part of their offseason plans. We've seen some Japanese players like Shohei Ohtani and Seiya Suzuki come in and just mash the ball in the major leagues, so we'll see whether he translates or not. It's pretty hard to predict, so right now I've got him at 13, but he could be one of the best left fielders in the game this year. At number 12, what a disappointment the last couple years have been for Christian Yelich of the Milwaukee Brewers. In 271 games since 2021, Yelich has a 737 OPS, a 107 WRC+, 3-point WAR, and only 23 home runs. Now, I'm old enough to remember when Christian Yelich was maybe the best player in baseball, was an MVP candidate for multiple years, but since then he's lost all power, he's dealt with a lot of injuries, and he's been really one of the worst left fielders on defense in the entire league. In 2022, he stepped it up a little bit as a hitter with a 111 WRC+, but he doesn't strike fear anymore as the left fielder who was competing with Cody Bellinger, another disappointment player for National League MVPs. Yelich just isn't the same. Hopefully he can turn it around this year, but I feel like we've been saying that for a couple years now. I think he deserves to be slightly outside the top 10 at number 12. Right above Christian Yelich at the number 11 spot is Andrew Benintendi of the Chicago White Sox. In 2022, Benintendi had an all-star level year, a 772 OPS, a 122 WRC+, 2.8 WAR, but he only had 5 home runs and 8 stolen bases. So I think he's a better hitter than Lourdes Gurriel, but a same kind of scenario where I can't raise him much higher considering that he doesn't have the raw power numbers to up his potential or his ceiling anymore. Of course, he's a better defender. He's one of the better defenders at the left field position in general, but for the new Chicago White Sox, I can't crack him into the top 10 if I don't see that power. Starting off the top 10 is going to be Tyler O'Neill of the St. Louis Cardinals. O'Neill was the best left fielder in baseball in 2021, and while he had a down year last year, he bounced back and finished with a 101 WRC+. His slug did drop 100 points from 2021, but overall, if you combine his last 2 seasons, he's got an 825 OPS, a 126 WRC+, 6.9 WAR, 48 home runs, and 29 stolen bases. O'Neill's a weird case. I still think he deserves to crack the top 10, though, considering just how good he was in 2021, and the fact he was able to pick it up in his 2022 year as well to finish slightly above average. Heading out to the Windy City for number 9, that's Ian Happ of the Chicago Cubs. In 306 games over the last 2 seasons, Happ has a 770 OPS, a 113 WRC+, 4.7 WAR, and 42 home runs. He was one of the better left fielders in baseball last year, finishing with a 120 WRC+ and 3.5 WAR, but overall I think these numbers prove exactly what Happ is. He's a good left fielder, and I think that's pretty much it. I don't think he has the potential to go off like some of these guys above him, and he's not the best left fielder on defense, so I think Ian Happ slots in perfectly right here at number 9. Gotta look north of the border for our number 8 left fielder, that's Dalton Varsho, the newly acquired Toronto Blue Jay. In 246 games over the last 2 seasons, the catcher/outfielder, yes, you did hear that right, has a 748 OPS, a 104 WRC+, 6.9 WAR, 38 home runs, and 22 stolen bases. Of course, those offensive numbers don't jump off the page like some of the other guys, but he's one of the best barrel rates in the entire league, and he's one of the best, most versatile defenders in the league. He had the most 5-star, which are the most difficult catches in the outfield among any outfielder in baseball last year, and he's in the 99th percentile for outs above average. Dalton Varsho is an underrated stud who I think slots in perfectly to the Toronto Blue Jays offense. In the number 7 spot, I've got Mark Canha of the New York Mets. In 281 games for the last 2 years, Canha's got a very good 756 OPS, 122 WRC+, and a 5.9 WAR, and he stepped it up in his first season with the Mets in 2022 with a 128 WRC+. Canha's one of those players on the Mets that's not going to blow you away. He's not the flashiest. He's not going to make those insane plays, but he's very good at what he does. He's a reliable bat in the batting order, and I think he's proven over the last couple years he deserves to be in the top 10. I've got him at number 7. At number 6, another player that was hard to rank because he missed so many games last year, that's going to be Chris Bryant of the Colorado Rockies. In 186 games over the last 2 years, despite missing all those games in 2022, Bryant has an 839 OPS, a 124 WRC+, a 3.7 WAR, and 30 home runs. The former MVP is just too good as a hitter for me to move him down the list for missing games last year. I know it's been hard for him to stay healthy over the last couple of seasons, but if we get a healthy season in Colorado for Kris Bryant, I think he's going to put up numbers like he always has, and I think he deserves to be in the 6th spot. At number 5, we've got playoff Randy Arozarena of the Tampa Bay Rays. In 294 games since 2021, Randy has a 793 OPS, a 126 WRC+, 6.5 WAR with 40 home runs and 52 stolen bases, and he plays decent defense out in left field. Randy's just one of those players that you love to love, and I think he's a very good player, and he will be for years to come in Tampa Bay. He starts off the top 5. My number 4 might surprise some people, but I'm going Taylor Ward of the Los Angeles Angels. Ward is surprisingly a stud. In 200 games of the last 2 seasons, Ward has an 814 OPS, a 129 WRC+, and last year in 2022, he had an 833 OPS, a 137 WRC+, 3.8 WAR while slugging 23 home runs. Ward is one of those pieces that I think the Angels have hit on that's going to match with Ohtani and Trout to hopefully bring the Angels another playoff bid. People might not believe in Taylor Ward or might have written him off after his first half last year, but overall, Ward's a stud and he's proved it in 200 games over the last 2 years. That's a big enough sample size for me to believe that he should be right here in the 4th spot. Starting off the top 3, I'm going standout rookie Steven Kwan of the Cleveland Guardians. In 147 games in his rookie year last year, Kwan had a 773 OPS, a 124 WRC+, 4.4 WAR, won the Gold Glove in the American League in left field, and made some of the craziest plays that we've seen in the outfield. Overall, he's not the best hitter in the world. The 124 WRC+ looks great, but he doesn't barrel the ball. He doesn't really hit it hard. The thing that Kwan does so well is he does not swing and miss, and he does not chase out of the zone. But it's hard for me to rank him above these next 2 guys who are just completely different beings at the plate. Kwan's a great player, and he's going to serve the Guardians very well over what is hopefully the rest of his career, but it's hard for me to move him up. He's right now at number 3. In the 2 spot, I'm going Kyle Schwarber of the Philadelphia Phillies. In 268 games over the last 2 years, split between a bunch of teams, Schwarber has an 869 OPS, a 135 WRC+, 5.5 WAR, and walks at a 13% rate. And ask me how many home runs he hit in 2022, the answer to that question would be 46 bombs. Schwarber hits absolute missiles. He hits the ball so hard, in the 99th percentile for max and average exit velocity. He's not a very good defender, but I'll trade that any day for 46 home runs and a 135 WRC+. I like Kyle Schwarber quite a bit. That's why I have him right here at number 2. But in the number 1 spot, switching positions over to left field, it's going to be Juan Soto of the San Diego Padres. Soto started his career in left field, and after moving to right, it looks like he's going to be moving back to left in San Diego with some of their recent acquisitions and Fernando Tatis Jr. moving to the outfield, but Soto is still a stud nonetheless. He had a down year for his standards last year, but still finished with an insane 145 WRC+, and 853 OPS, and you combine his last 2 seasons, he's played 304 games, has a 925 OPS, a 154 WRC+, 10.9 WAR, 56 home runs, walks the best in the league at 21% walk rate. Juan Soto is just a generational type talent. I know a lot of people think he's overrated, but look again, Juan Soto is one of the best players in baseball, and right now he is by far the best left fielder in the major leagues. That's going to wrap it up for my rankings of the top 30 left fielders in Major League Baseball. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked the video, please make sure and go show your support with hitting the like button, hitting the subscribe button, and the notification bell, and leave a comment. Whether you liked my list, whether you hated my list, I want to know what you thought I got right and what you thought I got wrong. So leave it down below in the comments section. Do you like where I ranked your favorite player, your team's player? Let me know all of that down in the comment section below. We love interacting with you guys. And make sure while you're at it, you're checking out the playlist for all the rest of our rankings. We've done every single position across the infield. We've done catchers, and coming in the future, we've got the rest of the outfield and some starting pitchers and DHs. So make sure you guys are following along because it's going to be a great rest of the series. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I've been Jack Smith for Double Play Baseball, and we will see you next time.